You want to hear a joke? The Marxist Democrats in Congress and the liberal media industrial complex are all claiming that they are the ones who are fighting to protect free speech. This, a post by the official Democrat Party account on Twitter. This in the wake of Jimmy Kimmel getting suspended for spitting on the grave of Charlie Kirk by ABC, which is owned by Disney, by the way. So not a good look for Disney to have one of their primary hosts spitting on the grave of someone who was just assassinated. So they're all working in concert to defend Jimmy Kimmel and to say that MAGA drummed up a bunch of BS to take him down. So I got some new clips for you. I'll highlight their hilarious hypocrisy. And there is one comedian who is speaking out on this issue who I think will surprise us all with what he has to say. So stay tuned because there's plenty to come in this video. But real quick, subscribe to my channel if you're new here because you're not going to find another independent and politically incorrect analyst like this anywhere else. Even Stephen Colbert, who I still doubt has a soul, I'm sure that there were others in the network who have remnants of a soul, made him do this, opened his show with a cold open after Charlie was killed and acknowledged what happened and extended his sympathy to the Kirk family. But Jimmy Kimmel spit on his grave and then blamed Republicans for murdering him, and the usual suspects are having their regular meltdown. Congressman Eric Swalwell, posted that Trump is firing comedians. It's Donald Trump's fault. Always, everything. That's what happens in Russia and China. And it cannot happen here. And he decided to take the opportunity at a congressional hearing about artificial intelligence and the dangers of it and the regulation issues to say this.
What does the hat say, Eric?
Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Of course. The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'll get to AI in a moment, but I'm not going to miss the opportunity.
I'll get to the topic at hand in a moment, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to complain about a scumbag getting fired from a major network.
To ask my colleagues, the proponents of free speech across the aisle and the champions who sit with me, to condemn in the harshest terms what is happening right now from our administration.
Of course, he went on to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler as usual, posting in 1934, Germany passed a law making it a crime to tell jokes or laugh at its leaders. We don't want to go down that road because what's next is you can't post what you want on social media. He then ran to CNN with his little hat, but I'll spare you from having to listen to any more of his nonsense. Kamala Harris, remember her? She has a new book coming out next week, by the way, so she will be on all of the big shows complaining about all the imaginary racism and fascism that cost her the election. Everything but her lack of qualifications and just utterly appalling personality. But she posted, what we are witnessing is an outright abuse of power. This administration is attacking critics and using fear as a weapon to silence anyone who would speak out. Media corporations, from television networks to newspapers, are capitulating to these threats. We cannot dare to be silent or complacent in the face of this frontal assault on free speech. The same woman who led the charge to get President Trump banned from Twitter before the January 6th mostly peaceful protest, okay? So that was the big justification that they used to ban him from all the different platforms. This was long before that.
I frankly think that based on this and all we've seen him do before, including attacking members of Congress, that he frankly should be, his Twitter account should be suspended. I think there is plenty of now evidence to suggest that he is irresponsible with his words in a way that could result in harm to other people.
The mean words are hurting people's feelings. She literally led the charge. She wrote a letter and then sent it to the then Twitter CEO demanding that he be banned. This was in October of 2019, okay? This was like in the beginning of the 2020 presidential campaign. 2019, she was calling for him to be banned. Chuck Schumer, the most powerful Democrat senator in Congress, says that America is meant to be a bastion of free speech. Well, that is true, which is why we've been trying to stop you clowns from censoring us on social media for years. Everybody across the political spectrum should be speaking out to stop what's happening to Jimmy Kimmel. Save Jimmy Kimmel's show. This is about protecting democracy. This must go to court. Well, okay, I mean, employees who get fired can sue their employers for what they believe to be wrongful termination, but I don't think we need the Democrats in the Senate, in Congress, to be getting involved in a private matter. Chuck Schumer led the charge a few years ago trying to get Tucker Carlson fired from Fox News.
Rupert Murdoch, who has admitted they were lies and said he regretted it, has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth, and from letting them go on again and again and again. Not because their views deserve such opprobrium, but because our democracy depends on it.
You can't even make up this level of hypocrisy. David Pakman is one of these popular liberal YouTubers in the Million Sub Club who's recently been embraced by, I think it's MSNBC or CNN, trying to leech some of his viewers to come over there. So they're doing, interviews with him about how amazing he is. He posted on Twitter, one of the hallmarks of authoritarianism is to terrify people into self-censorship. ABC ending Kimmel's show is the perfect example of this. Well, that's interesting because here's what he had to say after ABC fired Roseanne. Big win in the battle of ideas and free speech. Roseanne said what she wanted to say. ABC made the business decisions that were right for them. Remember, for years, they used to always say that these are private corporations who have their own terms of service. It's not a First Amendment issue at all. They can decide who and what they want on their platforms. These people who are getting censored and suspended from social media aren't getting arrested by the government. They're free to say what they want, the privacy of their own home or even on the street corner. So it's not a First Amendment issue at all. But now they are claiming that it's the most important First Amendment issue in America, and it's the rise of Hitler reincarnated. The hypocrisy is endless, so I'll just go through a few more of these. Harry Sisson, Gen Z's big TikToker, who has, I think, over a million, well over a million, maybe even 2 million followers over on TikTok, who got to meet with Joe Biden, says that we're witnessing the most brazen attack on free speech in modern American history. This from the guy who celebrated President Trump getting banned from Twitter, marking the 1-year anniversary of his ban. Since we know that everyone on CNN lies with nearly every breath, I mean, there are a couple broken clocks who are right twice a year over on that network, but this is how they're spinning Jimmy Kimmel getting suspended. He didn't do anything wrong at all. It's just a bunch of fake news being spread that duped ABC and Disney into the suspension.
Kimmel appeared to be making a point about alleged finger pointing by the right wing toward the left in the wake of Kirk's assassination. What he said did not appear to suggest that the suspect was a MAGA shooter. Also, important to note, ABC did not take action until days after this aired. In fact, it came shortly after the FCC chair.
Shortly after the FCC chair, Brendan Carr commented on it and denounced Kimmel. But what they're not telling you is the actual reason for the suspension. It really isn't because the people in ABC's leadership or Disney's leadership really cared. It's because two major media conglomerates, Sinclair Media and Nexstar Media, pulled Jimmy Kimmel's show from all of their local affiliates and demanded that he apologize. Sinclair Media, I mentioned this yesterday, also demanded that Jimmy Kimmel make a donation to Turning Point USA. That's why they did it. They couldn't care less about threats from the FCC or even a potential fine or threats to their license, because the FCC is not going to pull ABC's broadcast license for this. Everybody knows that. They only did it because in, I think, dozens and dozens of major markets across the country, Jimmy Kimmel's show just disappeared. And so the producers are thinking, well, they're probably already losing money, just like Stephen Colbert's show has been losing $50 million a year. So if his show is not on air in dozens of major markets, why even bother producing it? Because they're just going to lose even more money. So they're trying to save the show. They still are hoping to put him back on air. So we have to keep the pressure up. Oh, and speaking of the liberal soy boy YouTubers who are in the million sub club like David Pakman, there are surprisingly a few of them. Kyle Kalinske, who runs the channel Secular Talk, had this expert analysis about Charlie Kirk's assassination.
All right, y'all, I got a whole bunch of breaking news here for you. To be honest, we're playing catch up because for the past, I don't even know how long it's been now, 2 or 3 days, we've been talking a lot about the shooting of Charlie Kirk. So there's a lot of stuff that I got to catch you up on. But first, let me give you the updates on the Charlie thing. So more and more information is coming in, and the more that comes in, the more clear it is. The shooter was right-wing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not really hard to figure out. It's not really up in the air. It's not really a matter of opinion anymore. The guy was right-wing. In fact, he was very, very right-wing.
Last night, several of the self-proclaimed comedians who host late-night talk shows like Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart, John Leibowitz, denounced Kimmel being suspended and obviously blamed President Trump.
Yesterday, after threats from Trump's FCC chair, ABC yanked Kimmel off the air indefinitely. That is blatant censorship. And it always starts small. You know, remember like in week 1 of his presidency?
It always starts small. It starts with YouTubers and Twitter personalities who have a pretty sizable following, but aren't, national figures who the mainstream conservative media wouldn't even stand up for or report on when we started getting censored many years ago. And, well, then it just reaches people like the New York Post, major conservative publications, and then ultimately reached the seated president of the United States when he was censored, deplatformed from all the big tech platforms. Remember that one? I've been saying for years that it's long overdue that we give the left a taste of their own medicine, and at this point, only a cuck-conservative would say that this is cancel culture. We shouldn't be stooping to their level. I'm going to stand on my principles. They are the ones who changed the rules. And if you are playing by the old rules, then you're going to continue to lose. Here's Jon Stewart over on The Daily Show, who has been hosting the show like once a week since his return out of retirement, attempting sarcasm. This is what passes as comedy now on The Late Show. Okay, I sure miss Craig Kilborn because I don't know what this is.
All this swirling around, are the naysayers and the critics right? Is Donald Trump stifling free speech?
Of course not, John. Americans are free to express any opinion we want. To suggest otherwise is laughable.
Everything they do and say is upside down and backwards. I guess the joke is supposed to be that everyone in the media is so afraid of Donald Trump firing them or rounding them up and throwing them in a concentration camp that they all just sing him praises in concert. Which brings me to Jamie Kennedy from the Jamie Kennedy Experiment, from Scream, from Malibu's Most Wanted. He posted this on X saying, I went really slow because the soulless ones may have trouble understanding, okay? The cancellation of the Jimmy Kimmel Show is not an attack on free speech or comedy. The cancellation is the rejection of repugnant inhumanity. A man was ruthlessly gunned down in front of the entire world because he was just using his free speech. Then another man made a supposed joke with a whole writing staff using his massacre as the source material for comedic fodder. That was then broadcast on TV for the entire world to see because he was also using his free speech. Now, how some people are in shock and claim victimhood when the man is fired from his job while using free speech, what don't you get? This is not just blatant hypocrisy. This is going full tard. The ghouls really want to have your demonic cake and eat it too, don't you? Say it with me. You ready? Murder for words equals actual fascism. Losing job for words equals morality clause accountability. Rule number 1 in comedy is the ability to read the room. Is this difficult to grasp? If it is, then you are not part of the problem. You are the problem. Use discernment. It's also free. And to the audience members who were there clapping, yucking it up, you are lowlifes. Seek Jesus. Hashtag justice for Charlie. And since I don't shill garbage products or services like every other YouTuber in this business, if you want to support my work, just click the link in the description below to buy me a coffee. It's a great service to tip your favorite creators. Way better than a super thanks, which you can also do by clicking the heart button down below the video, or a super chat during a live stream. But YouTube takes 40%, I think, of those tips. 40%. And then we got to pay income tax on that on top of it. So it's basically nothing. So the Buy Me a Coffee service is pretty cool. So you can click the link in the description below. Drop me $1, $2, whatever you think my videos are worth to you. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And check back on a regular basis, because I will see you soon.